Welcome back to my channel. There comes a point in every meaningful journey when you realize you're no longer discovering a place. You are developing a relationship with it. A relationship built through ordinary moments, morning walks, familiar faces, conversations, routines, the quiet accumulation of days. And then one day, without warning, it's time to leave. The longer I travel, the more convinced I become that places shape us. Not all of them. Most remain destinations, and a few become part of our story, part of our identity, part of the person we are when we leave. In the last vlog, I explored the quieter side of Busan through Bunetsia, the Daepo Beach, and Moronde. What began as an unfinished visit became a story about returning, about the places that stay with us long after we've left them, the places that reveal themselves one chapter at a time. And as I watched another Busan sunset fade into the horizon, I had no idea that my own time in Korea was quickly coming to an end. This story begins during my final days in South Korea, a country that changed far more than my itinerary. We're at the E-Mart for a late night meal. And this is what we're getting. So I'm gonna have kimchi ramyeon with eggs, rice with these, and she got this. Oh yeah, with kimchi, and yeah. So we're gonna have a little feast here.
This is tumba ramyeon.
It has cheese in it.
And this is kimchi soup ramyeon.
We just had ramyeon. And we just did 204 steps. And there's more here, but we're not doing it. Forget that. We're going to the gym. That was the kind of evening no guidebook would ever recommend. The kind of evening that becomes a memory anyway. Tomorrow, I would leave Busan. Tonight belonged to friendship, and Busan gave us one final chapter.
Right? Yes. It's a kind of walk, you mean? Yeah.
Before heading to the airport, I made one final stop. The United Nations Memorial Cemetery. Time was short, so I didn't have the opportunity to explore the grounds themselves. Instead, I found myself standing near the rows of flags and the striking memorial building that overlooks the site. It's a place many visitors pass by without realizing its significance. I am at the United Nations Memorial Park downtown Busan. Don't overlook it. It gives you the best, really amazing views of the entire city of Busan. Then down the road, you have the Peace Park by the United Nations, which is worth strolling through. There's a botanical garden. It's actually really hot today. They're expecting a typhoon in 5 to 7 days, and I think that's why. It's very unusual weather. But I'm headed to Seoul. It's a holiday. Yesterday was a holiday for the army. Today is like a bridge day, and then tomorrow is another holiday. Kind of like their autumn solstice holiday, and it's a national holiday. I was not able to get a train ticket on any of the KTX rides to Seoul. I got a plane ticket to go to Seoul today, and I'll be in Seoul until Saturday. So I'm really excited about it, but it's a bittersweet leaving Busan. It's so weird. I've really fallen in love with this city. I love it, and I'm not a city girl, but I really love it, and the friends that I made here, I'm really looking forward to coming back. I'm definitely coming back. The cemetery honors United Nations forces who lost their lives during the Korean War and remains the only United Nations cemetery in the world. As I stood there preparing to leave Korea, it felt like an appropriate final stop. Throughout this journey, I had experienced a country filled with energy, creativity, beauty, and warmth. a country constantly reinventing itself while remaining deeply connected to its past. Places like this serve as a quiet reminder that history is never far away. It exists beneath the cities, beneath the skylines, beneath the everyday moments that visitors like me are fortunate enough to experience. Soon, it was time to continue north. My time in Busan had come to an end. Leaving Busan felt so emotional. Over the previous weeks, the city had transformed from a destination into something more familiar. A place woven into daily routines. A place filled with faces, stories, and memories. The flight carried me north towards Seoul. My base for the final days of this journey would be Blue Ocean Residences in Incheon. For 3 nights, this corner of Korea would become home. The view stretched across the water. The pace felt different from Busan. More spacious, more modern, a city looking toward the future. Hello! I made it to Seoul. Actually, I'm in Incheon. I booked an apartment near the airport. I'm going to give you a tour at the same time as I'm touring it, so let's discover it together. First of all, the building is really cool, and there's a rooftop pool area. So you enter. Here's the door. Closet, but my luggage is in the way. What's in here? More closet space. They really maximize everything here. I even have a washing machine / dryer. My little bathroom. Very decent shower area. Just enough for 3 nights. So yes, I'm gonna be here 3 nights. Got cups. What is this? A big fridge that I won't need, with a freezer. More closet space. TV, bed, and you go up to another bed. I didn't realize that that's what I asked for. Okay. Furniture and such. Those are my views. Cool. I did ask for ocean view. Very nice. That's my crib for the next 3 nights. That evening, I headed to Songdo's Moonlight Festival Park. As darkness settled across the city, illuminated walkways reflected against the water, and families gathered to enjoy the cool evening air. Songdo fascinates me. Built largely on reclaimed land, entire neighborhoods here rose from what was once open sea. A city created through vision, engineering, and ambition. Standing here, under the flickering lights, It felt like a fitting place for the final chapter of my Korean journey. A country rooted deeply in history, yet constantly building toward what comes next. Bukchon Hanok village is one of the few places in the city where centuries-old Hanok homes still stand between the modern skyline. What I hadn't fully appreciated though before arriving was the date. October 3rd, National Foundation Day, known as Gyeongbokgung in Korean, which literally means the day the heavens opened, marking the legendary founding of the first Korean kingdom 4,000 years ago. As I walked through Bukchon narrow streets, it felt like the perfect place to begin. Traditional rooftops stretched across the hillsides. Beyond them, glass towers rose into the sky. Seoul has always fascinated me because it never asks you to choose between past and future. Both exist at the same time. The old survives, the new continues arriving, and somehow the city makes room for both. Built in 1395, Gyeongbokgung became the principal palace of the Joseon dynasty and remained the political and symbolic heart of Korea for centuries. Kings ruled from these grounds. State affairs were conducted here. The direction of an entire nation was shaped within these walls. Yet, like much of Korea's history, the palace's story is not one of uninterrupted grandeur. During the Japanese invasions of the late 16th century, much of the complex was destroyed by fire. For nearly 300 years, large sections remained abandoned before reconstruction began in the 19th century. Then came another chapter of loss. During the Japanese occupation, many palace buildings were dismantled or destroyed. What visitors see today is the result of decades of restoration and preservation. Walking through Gyeongbokgung, I was struck by how closely the palace mirrors Korea itself. Repeatedly damaged, repeatedly rebuilt, never abandoned. One area held my attention longer than the rest. This one. Hyangwonjeong, a hexagonal pavilion resting quietly in the middle of a pond. Its name translates to the Pavilion of Far-Reaching Fragrance. Built in 1873 under King Gojong, it arrived during a period when Korea stood on the edge of profound change. Foreign powers were pressing against its borders. Political uncertainty was growing. The final decades of the Joseon dynasty had begun, and yet this elegant pavilion was created in the midst of that uncertainty. Looking across the water toward it, I found myself thinking about the extraordinary continuity of Korean civilization. Dynasties have fallen. Wars have scarred the peninsula. Occupations have attempted to erase identity. The country was divided. Cities were reduced to rubble. Yet, the thread connecting past and present remains remarkably intact. Language, traditions, customs, values, memory. The Korea I had spent weeks exploring suddenly felt much larger than the cities, cafes, and coastlines I had come to know. It felt like a country carrying centuries of memory while continuing to move forward. And standing there on National Foundation Day, surrounded by people celebrating the origins of the nation itself, there was no better place to reflect on that journey. As the day unfolded, the city grew increasingly crowded. Families filled the streets, visitors gathered around the palace, celebrations unfolded throughout Seoul. At the same time, large demonstrations were taking place nearby. Thousands of people carrying signs, waving flags, and voicing their opinions about the future of the country. Standing there, surrounded by celebration, history, and political expression all at once, I felt like I was witnessing something uniquely Korean. A nation deeply connected to its past, actively shaping its future, and unafraid to engage with both.
지난 10월 3일보다 훨씬 더 많이 모였습니다. 다시 우리는 이 자리에 모였습니다.
I have a knack for stumbling and walking into a manifestation. Just walk right in the middle of a patriotic manifestation where they're basically fighting for an alliance with the States because they don't want to do anything with North Korea, who has been sending a lot of spies into South Korea. And so they're fighting against it. And today, I mean, I had the chills. It was so thrilling. Because it's National Foundation Day, they're doing this, and there's throngs, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Thrilling.
잘 알지도 못하면서 다 알지도 못하면서 왜 매번 날 다 그치기만 해 내가 아닌 날 말하고 내가 없는 진실들로 그렇게 날 다 그치기만 해 어디에도 날 쉴 곳은 없네 길 잃은 어린 소녀의 노래 익숙해진 두려움과
To be honest, it's been a little tricky here because you're not supposed to take photos of, or videos of anyone without their consent, and a lot of them don't want to be on camera. I mean, even the friends that I made are like, no, please don't film. Yeah, it's been hard to, for me anyways, it's been hard figuring out where the fine line is.
외로움도 무뎌져만 가네 날 미워하지 마 날 미워하지 마 날 미워하지 마
By the time my final full day arrived, departure no longer felt distance. The suitcase was waiting, the flight was booked, the countdown had become real. I spent the morning along the waterfront near Seaside Park in Incheon. The pace felt different here. Open spaces, sea air, cyclists moving along the paths. Families enjoying the afternoon. The kind of place that invites you to slow your thoughts. And that was exactly what I needed. The day before, I had ventured somewhere unexpected, a place that deserves its own story. And for now, I'll leave that chapter unopened. Some journeys are better experienced on their own. And that one is next. So, I spend my final hours doing something I have learned to appreciate more with age. Nothing. No checklist, no rushing, no pressure to see one more thing. Just walking, observing, being present, and just enjoying myself. Travel changes over time. When I was younger, I wanted to see everything. Now, I'm more interested in experiencing what is already in front of me. The longer I travel, the more valuable presence becomes. And Korea has given me countless opportunities to practice exactly that. At the beginning of this bike trail, you'll see the seaside cyclopeds. Anyways, it's these little carts that you have to pedal to move forward, and it's fun for families. It has 4 people on it. I try to go on it, and they're like, no, it's 2 people minimum. So if you're coming to do this, you gotta come with a group, or at least with a friend or a significant other. Isn't that fun? When I'm coming back, this is definitely one of the first things I want to do. Who's coming with me? It's been a wonderful trip. It went by like a flash. I was so in love with South Korea. I'm reflecting upon this trip and why it's so poignant for me to be leaving. I made more friends than I usually do when I travel somewhere new. I've been to places where there were no tourists. I started learning how to read. I embraced and totally fell in love with the cafe culture here. The food is beyond words. There are so many little joints like that, places to eat where the food is so excellent that you just don't have any words and you just eat your heart out. I definitely had to go shopping for new pants because my my pants were getting tight. I absolutely love it here and I so look forward to coming back. You know, I wasn't planning on going to all these places that you see on social media, you know, all these like fancy cafes. Although I did try to go to a couple, it just didn't work out that way. I was going to go to Spa Land in Busan, and when I realized that it's part of the Shinsegae Mall, I was like, I don't know, it turned me off. I wanted to do, I didn't get to do because every place I've gone, I really just imprinted that on myself and enjoyed being in that place, that moment, and took my time. This was not going to be a race for me of checking out items on my bucket list. And I feel like I really traveled deeper here in South Korea more than other places. Learn more about the culture directly from the friends that I've made. It's such a beautiful culture, very different mentality, but that's part of its charm. If you would like to travel to South Korea with me, let me know. I'll be happy to show you where I've been, where no tourist goes. By the way, from the hostel I'm staying at, which is the Blue Ocean Residences Hotel, I had views on all of this. And this low tide starts around basically at sunrise, and it stays like this until around sunset. Just before sunset, it starts filling up, and it happens pretty fast. But this is such a beautiful place, and it is only 10 minutes away from Incheon Airport. This is where I stayed for the last 3 days here in Seoul. It takes an hour to go by taxi to go into Seoul. Across the way here is Songdo. There's Womildo theme park and Songdo over there. It's definitely worth going as well. And the nightlife there is fantastic. I didn't have the chance to go to Womildo because yesterday I was on the other side of this island, on the other island, the island of Muido, and I stayed there until late night. So my plan to go into Womildo after my time there just didn't pan out, but it's okay because I met some really sweet people at the beach and had a fantastic time, priceless moments. Yes, now I recognize. I stayed in this building, and these two buildings are the same hotel. They're residences as well as a hotel. So if you would like to stay in Incheon and experience Incheon and its surrounding areas and islands, which is so beautiful and so peaceful compared to Seoul, this is probably where I would encourage you to stay, just because I stayed there and it was very comfortable. But there are many other places where you can stay that would allow you to enjoy Incheon and the places that you don't see on social media. Soon, it was time to head to the airport. Another journey coming to a close. Every country leaves something behind. A photograph, a memory, a story. Korea left much more than that. Friendships, lessons, places that continue occupying space in my thoughts, heart and soul long after I've left them. The longer I spend here, the harder it becomes to say goodbye, which tells me something important. At some point, Korea stopped being a destination. It became part of my life, and although this chapter was ending, I already knew one thing. I'll be back sooner than later, because some places never really leave us, and Korea has become one of those places.